Welcome to INFORME, a social media conversation for August 13, 2014. I'm Nate Manahan.
And I'm Dustin Hickle.
Today we're going to talk about a man who spent 48 hours binging on all the likes he could possibly take on Facebook, and we'll find out what happened to him after all that.
It just wasn't fair. Big story, we're going to focus on Pinterest versus Instagram. Which one's better for your business? It kind of depends. We'll talk about that in more detail later on.
We'll look at some specific accounts, and then we'll take a special infographic of the week, which may or may not be an infographic. You make the decision. All this and lots more on INFORME, a social media conversation. Keep watching. Welcome back to another episode of INFORME. And, one beautiful day here in northern Indiana.
Yep.
It is August, and it's not above 80, and can't complain about that.
Yeah.
And for those...
Well, except for the fact that we might get some snow, in September.
Apparently.
The polar vortex is apparently going to come back down, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's global cooling. This week, we were going to talk... Last week, we kind of did a little thing comparing Twitter and Facebook, and sometimes you just need to look at two different platforms and say, which one's the most important for any business?
Yeah.
So this week, we're going to talk about Pinterest and Instagram. We'll get to that in a little bit. But we're going to talk a little bit first about an article we read that I thought was really interesting. It's on Wired, and it's about a guy who dove in and said for 2 days, I believe, right?
48 hours.
He was just going to like everything he saw on Facebook and see what that did to him. What do we learn?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it was really kind of cool reading this article. It was just kind of an out of the blue, candid, I'm just going to start doing this, kind of thing. It's not like he planned it or set it up. Just one day decided, I'm just going to like everything for 48 hours. And he set some rules, obviously, when he didn't want to like something where, a certain post, one of his friends, family members had just died. And he's like, well, I'm not going to like that. It's kind of disrespectful. But one of the rules that I thought was really interesting was when he liked a Huffington Post article, and it shows the 4 other ones that you might like. He only liked the first 4 rather than getting stuck and liking an insane amount of articles that Facebook will serve you. But as it turns out, at the very end, his entire news feed on his mobile device was just business articles from content mills, from Huffington Post and from Digital Trends and from all these different places that are just turning out ridiculous amount of content, and there was actually nobody in his feed that was like his friend or his family or anything. It just turned into Facebook serving me anything that it can that's from some sort of content mill. It lost the personal connection altogether.
Right. And I think that's the struggle that Facebook's having right now is people get on Facebook or got hooked on Facebook because they could catch up on what their friends were doing that they had 10 years ago. And it started as that college connection. And that we went to college together and now we're still connected. And now it's I haven't seen you in 15 years, but I'm going to find out what you ate for supper last night.
Yeah. Which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
We can put it out there. We think that's a little odd.
It is. And we all do it. There are times that you binge on Facebook and you go through. But more and more, and I see this for myself, Facebook is serving what they want to serve to me. And it's not really what I want to see. And it's not what small businesses and medium-sized businesses, unless we pay to get in front of their eyes, we can't control that, because we're never going to create as much content as Mashable or as much content as BuzzFeed, which, congratulations, BuzzFeed, on the great investment this week. Yeah. 50 million. Hey, if anyone else wants to invest, Salcha, we're here. But what we can do is realize that sometimes on Facebook, more and more, for most small businesses, you have to be on Facebook because people will come and search for you on Facebook. And you have to have new and relevant content. But the fact is, even your most loyal fan may never see your content unless you pay to put it in front of them. And sometimes it's worth it. Pay to play, go do it. If you have the funds, it's not a free platform for sure anymore.
Right, yeah, it's absolutely not a free platform. It's really kind of a sad thing for me to see, a little bit, because especially this particular trial or whatever that he did is really kind of sad, because I see people that I actually care about in my newsfeed, and I almost was starting to believe that Facebook actually wanted me to connect with those people, actually wanted me to see what was going on in their life, and wanted to actually serve me the things that I wanted to see. But this just goes to show you that's not it at all. Facebook, while they do that, and you see things from people that you actually care about from time to time, if you like things all the time like Facebook wants you to do, you're just going to get stuck in a cycle that that unfortunately takes that personal connection away.
Well, and I wonder, and I would like to do some tests for this, and I'm not volunteering my account to do this by, but I'd love to, maybe we'll see if out of our 30 employees here, somehow maybe we can find a couple that'd be willing to do this. But if we go through in a week and we just like personal people, just people we know, people, and we comment, like, and share, and we can see the differences of how that's working in the algorithm. And can you drive, if you don't like any articles that are recommended for you, if you only like personal, and what does that do? And is there a way that you can skew back and force that algorithm to start making more personal content? And what I've noticed is I've made a couple likes and a couple comments, because I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, and I've made a couple likes and comments on a few friends' things I've noticed, and now that's usually the first thing right on top of my feed. A lot of times they're not people that I already knew those things about those people.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I'm wondering what manipulation you can do, but what I think I know, in fact, I'm pretty positive of this. For a small business, for you guys, for us, for those of us who are trying to use Facebook as a platform to tell our story, it's a difficult place without being willing to spend a little bit of cash and jump in there. That's just the rules of the road right now.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And kind of I just want to go back to this experiment that he ran here. It was really interesting to see what happened to his friends' news feeds as well. This kind of goes to show a little bit the power that we as small businesses have if we can get people to interact with our pages. He was getting Facebook messages and text messages saying, dude, all this stuff that you're liking is filling up my news feed. All I'm seeing is you like this page, you like this video, you like this, whatever. So it goes to show a little bit that Facebook will tell people about what you're doing if it's important, if it decides it's important to them. So we can harness that, as small businesses, as medium-sized businesses, if we can get people to actually like and comment and share and build that viral, really connected audience, you can actually get the results that you want out of it.
Facebook has identified people that have influence on Facebook.
Yeah.
And so they're going to share their content. So if you as a small business can get that person, that POI, that person of influence, to like you or share your content, it will appear on more people's newsfeed. Versus, and that's the thing, it's a question of, do you know who those are, because Facebook's not telling you, and can you connect with them in some way? If you're an avid Facebook user as a personal use, then you might be more successful as a small business on the free side.
Absolutely.
So I love testing stuff.
Yeah, it was really neat.
So who's out there? Who's willing to do it? Are you willing to jump in, test, try some new things? If you're willing to screw with your Facebook feed and just do some, contact us. We'll give you some ideas. Give you 48 hours. We'll help you do some algorithms. We'll even write a blog post about you and highlight what you're doing. We'd love to do it. That'd be awesome, because the best thing about Facebook, Twitter, social media is you're constantly testing, trying to figure out what's out there. So let's talk Pinterest, Instagram. First of all, let's be honest. Are we Pinterest and Instagram users?
I like Instagram. I like to use Instagram a lot. I don't post there as frequently as I would like to. I do use it a lot. I feel like, to me, it's kind of the eliminating Facebook way to connect with people that I care about.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I'm sure there's some sort of algorithm running there, now, but they haven't really said that there's like an algorithm that's actually serving.
I don't think there is still. I mean, if you're following,
that's great. I'm glad.
It's in time. It's time code like Twitter.
We know that at some point that's coming though.
Yeah.
For me, that's the place to go. I love going to Instagram, seeing what my brothers and everything are up to. I'm not a huge Pinterest user.
Yeah.
Again, not as much as I would like to be. It's a huge platform. Tons of people there. Tons of really great content. And I think if I went there, I'd be an improved photographer just for being on my feed every once in a while, because the quality of the imagery that people put up is insane. So yes to Instagram, no to Pinterest.
Yeah, and I use both. I am much more active on Instagram than I am any other place. It's the place I go to every day, probably 3 times a day, and look at the pictures. Because I don't follow a lot of brands on Instagram. I do follow a few, because there are a couple that really intrigue me, and they're great use of it. All my friends, for the most part, are on there, and I follow them, and I like what they do. And it's just a way for me to interact and see what they're doing and they're up to. And I use it as a way to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm interacting with. I love Instagram. I am on Pinterest. I use it almost as a bookmarking site for me at this point.
Yeah.
And I use it. I probably go to at least about weekly.
Mm-hmm.
I pin a lot of things to it, but I don't go back to it. And it's a bookmark for me. It's a reminder of what I saw, something I liked, and it interacts with how I use Feedly and Pocket and several other apps and things I use. I am fascinated by both of these platforms.
Absolutely.
And more for me, most retail, I think Instagram and or Pinterest is one of the first things I would say you need to be on. You need to have a presence on Facebook and Twitter, but I would maybe spend more time in Instagram and Pinterest for this very fact. I think they drive more sales than other platforms. But let's look at some companies that are doing great at it. How about Ikea? What do you know about Ikea?
Yeah, it was really interesting. We were looking at that Muddy Wall article you've got pulled up there.
Yeah.
Ikea actually, I read this article, I don't know, I was actually on vacation. I was in Florida, I wasn't thinking work, and this article came up on my Google Now, actually, on my phone. It was really awesome, read through it. And Ikea, they actually created a website, a literal website, using Instagram. And it was kind of strange for me at first, and I didn't understand exactly how they were doing it. But it was really cool. They actually created individual accounts for each of their products. And so they would post a picture and tag all of their products that were listed in that image, and then someone could click on that product and it would take them to a different page, just like you would on a website. And you could get more information there about the colors and the styles and whatever design tips that they're going to give you, because they're way smarter than I am on that.
Yeah. Here's what I love about it is that I've not seen anyone else use it this way. And they use the tags by being able to tag their different accounts. And they put a lot of work into this. And to credit this article that we'll post to you, it gives the agency Instinct, which is out of Russia, a Moscow-based agency named Instinct, the credit for putting this together. And this was a lot of work. But it just shows
to sustain.
Yeah, but it just shows that there are different ways to use social media than even and they got a lot of attention for this, because I saw it on Mashable. You sent me this Muddy Wall article, and I at that point wasn't following Ikea on Instagram, and I started following them because of this, and was fascinated how they were using it. And one of the things that's interesting about Instagram, and a struggle for Instagram, is that it doesn't have the same capabilities on web that it does on your mobile device and in your apps. And in fact, they don't even have apps that are iPad specific. In fact, they are in your iPhone and your Android phones, and that's it. And they aren't playing with tablets. They aren't playing. And you can get to pictures on Instagram. But I was just looking. So this IKEA store, which was for their IKEA Russian store, it doesn't look great, and I can't read any of the Russian, so I'm not translating that. But it just doesn't work the same way as how they did it in the mobile. It works in the mobile, and that's what Instagram says. That's what we're about, and that's what we're for. The difference there on Pinterest is when you start getting creative in your visual, it's fine both places. Now it also
might even be better desktop, sometimes, because you can get that bigger, higher resolution look. Yeah,
Pinterest is the best app when it comes to iPad. I mean, I love it. I have an iPad and I love it. It has a great Android, app, and they're great experiences. Now, let's highlight a couple of other Instagram and Pinterest accounts that we think work out pretty well. One that I love, and we highlight here, is fairly local, about 45 minutes away, small business that's doing a great job. In fact, we're going to highlight them in a My Biz story in Salcha here coming up soon. So check those out. If you haven't watched My Biz stories, you should be watching them. Look for them. They're all over on the Salcha. There's several, I think, 4 different companies that we've highlighted so far. You can watch a long version.
Working on a few more too.
Yep. So, but Antiqology is one that's rolling out here soon. And if you go to Antiqology, and let me put that in the lower third. Good job, JT, because you'll spell it wrong the first time, I promise. But I love their name, Antiqology. Yep. And they are such a unique store. Antiques with a soda fountain and craft sodas. And literally hundreds and like 200 plus of these things.
So good.
Their Instagram page is awesome at driving traffic. And every time I watch it, I'm like, man, I want to go back.
Yeah, I want to go visit. I want to see what they're doing. I want to taste that. What is this one? A Shirley Temple soda. Like what? But it always looks delicious, and they're good photographers, and they set up shots well. But man, you're right. It draws you in, and it makes you want to go back.
And this shows the simplicity. Having met with them, and they talk about this in the videos in the interview. Well, you can go watch somewhere else. But they said, look, we're not photographers. We're not artists. But we have a great iPhone, and we've learned how to take pictures, and we post them to Instagram. And they have natural sense, and not all of us have that. But they aren't using digital SLR cameras. They aren't paying thousands of dollars. They're simply taking high quality, well thought out pictures of what they want to put out there. And then they're getting comments and people are showing up. And what I learned from them is how many people will see a picture of, you mentioned this Shirley Temple, which sweetened with pure cane sugar from Boylan seasonal
really
release.
like just about everything that Boylan does. Their sodas are excellent.
Yeah.
Side note, but delicious.
But they have a picture here and it makes you want to drink it. And you show up. And they've done these tastings that they just have advertised on Instagram, and had people just look at it and they're like, hey, I want to be there. And that's the point, especially if you're a restaurant and you can take great pictures of your food, especially if you have a changing menu and you can tease what's out there. That you should be on Instagram, and you can be wherever they're at, because as people are flipping through Instagram, you've gotten them to follow you, and suddenly they see your special tacos that you're making that week. And they're like, you know what? I'm going to go
salivating sometimes, especially if they look delicious.
Yeah.
What I think was really great about Antiqology too is that they're first of all, they're kind of a cool business. I mean, their idea. I don't know if you guys have watched the History Channel show, American Pickers.
Yeah.
It's sort of like that, but in a smaller northern Indiana town,
Right.
But they're really passionate about it. You can feel their passion through what they do and what they post. But they don't just get themselves pigeonholed either. They're, like you said before, they're brewing their own craft sodas now.
Right.
Like, that's kind of unique and different, but they're just so passionate about what they do, you can feel it through their Instagram feed.
And they don't use Pinterest. Is there any reason for what they do on Instagram that they could possibly do more on Pinterest?
You know what? I think for them, I'm going to guess, since we know them a little bit, it's going to boil down to time.
Yeah.
These guys are actually on the road picking old abandoned warehouses and farmhouses and yada yada, actually picking stuff like you would see on TV. And so for them, they've really planted their flag in one spot.
Yeah.
Instagram is in their pocket when they're on the road. They can take a picture anywhere they're at and just post it to Instagram and they're ready to go. They're tagged. Yeah. They're attached to people in their pocket on their mobile device always.
And when the picture is enough, let the picture be enough and just stick with Instagram. That's what I would say. But when you need words to describe it, and you need maybe a little bit more real estate, and you need some type of context, to me, then Pinterest becomes your place to go.
And if you're trying to sell what you're posting, then Pinterest also is a good place. I mean, you can do it on Instagram. It's harder, obviously, to sell something on Instagram. But on Pinterest, it's really, really easy to get them to click through and buy your product. Yeah. So even if you're going to use both, Instagram, it can be more of a showcase. Don't start thinking that Pinterest is not a showcase account. Obviously, Pinterest is awesome for that. But Pinterest has driven more sales statistically than Instagram, I think, probably ever will.
And Pinterest is more of a replacement to your message board and the greater pieces of your website. Because let's take Auric here. And one of the things we were looking for is we were trying to find a business that had 2-3 employees that was using Pinterest well. And here was our struggle. Pinterest takes a little more work than Instagram, and we couldn't find that. It exists. I'm positive there are some that are knocking it out of the park. But in our few minutes of prep for this show, we couldn't find it. So if you know them, highlight it, tell us, and we'll highlight it. We'll tell others about it. But we were trying to find some unique companies that are using it, and there's some big brands that are using it. And Auric's a big brand, but maybe a little more homes and a little more focused. I don't know the size of their sales or anything in that. They have all kinds of things on their Pinterest boards that isn't just their products. Now, they have pin boards that are just their products, but they have things of ways their business is helping out things in Nashville, because that's where they're based. They have things about furry friends, and I just clicked on it.
Who doesn't love adorable pictures of puppies?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, that's one of the reasons you break out, or kittens. Looks like there's kittens too, but that's one of the reasons you break out your vacuum cleaner. Because you got dog hair everywhere. But people love their animals, and Auric obviously knows that, and I think that's blatantly obvious to almost everybody. If you love your animals, Auric can connect with you that way, because they're basically posting other people's pictures of their pets.
They have gone and found, I don't know, I'm not going to go through, I should say at the top of this pin board, 187 really cute pictures of animals. They didn't produce most of these. They just pinned them from other places. They found them, put them as a pin board, and at the top, and then they stuck at the top of this pin board, "Pets make your life fuller. Auric makes it cleaner. 20% off." And there's a coupon for sales. You can also love your pet but hate the mess. Auric to the rescue. And they say, look, this is what we're great at doing. but we're going to start pulling at your heartstrings, and you're going to look at this dog dressed up with a doodle bear. I don't even
It's
know.
like a teddy bear ears or something.
And Professor Kitty Cat. You guys, you go to Oric, find this pin board. It's worth your time. They're good at what they do, and they're driving traffic, and they have 2,852 followers just for their furry friends. Not saying that that's all sales. I don't know. But it certainly is engagement. People who are thinking about their pets then start thinking about whether their vacuum is working.
When those pins come up in their feed there, that little blue Oric icon's just there. You know, it's just that little, keep it in front of people, keep your logo in front of everybody. So they have another pin board that I think you were talking about that was really interesting. We were talking about it before the show. It is just their product.
Yeah.
It's like literally, you get a brush with this product, or it cleans the air, or whatever their products they're highlighting are. But it's just one of like 20 different pin boards that they have, and they're not flaunting it. So if you're a small business and you've got like retail kind of stuff like that, think one step deeper. For someone who sells really cool, even Goodwill, right? Someone like Goodwill, they sell clothes that are donated to them.
Yeah.
But they can go even deeper than that and say this jewelry matches with it, and you can get it for $5 here, and you can put together ensembles and outfits, and this shoes and this hairstyle or whatever it is, and take it a little bit deeper rather than, hey, here's a really cool tank top shirt, you should buy it.
Well, and the life of a pin is so much longer. Because one of the things I'm looking at here, and we're looking at their Steam It product, which I've never heard of before, but apparently is a steam mop that you can use to clean hardwood floors and hard surfaces.
So you learned something on Pinterest right there.
But if you end up in that page, they are pinning people from House of Rose blog, someone who pinned a picture of their son using this steam mop. They're posting things from manylittlblessings.com. They're posting things from freckledcitizen.com. People that have pictures and articles or engagement in some way using this steamer. If you retweeted it or put it out on Twitter or put it in Facebook, you may get, depending how many retweets you get, you may get a day out of that. On Pinterest, if they navigate to you, they're going to see this stuff. It's always going to be there if they find that pin board. And every time you post something new and they go back to that pin board, they're going to start seeing the other pictures. And it gives them more life, more engagement. That's why Pinterest is so strong. And each one of those links, they can make it so it goes back to them eventually. And that drives sales. And that's why Pinterest is great for retail. So if you have the time, it takes more time for Pinterest than Instagram. Pinterest is a great place to be on. Now, small business. This is what you like it. You like it when I go this.
I'm ready.
Small business. I'm going to make it up as I go here. Small business in South Texas, and they sell sombreros. Instagram or Pinterest? First, if they're going to be visual. Which of those are they going to use?
And they sell sombreros, huh?
Handmade. They are artisan sombreros.
Sombreros.
I know this probably exists, and I'm not making fun of you. I'm creating things, trying to put Dustin, give Dustin to think here, put him on the spot.
Yeah, you know what? My first gut feeling would be go Instagram, just because it's growing so rapidly, and you want to be there ahead of everybody else. But I mean, if they're really stylish sombreros, you could go to Pinterest.
Yeah.
Right. It's more, like you said, down to how much time you have to spend. If you've got the time to really get creative and to think a little bit deeper, and create 15 or 20 different pin boards and search Pinterest and pin other things that kind of relate to sombreros, totally go Pinterest.
Yeah.
But if all you have time to do is take a really cool looking picture, or you see someone wearing your sombrero, you take the picture, just get it on Instagram. Being somewhere where there are people interacting with visual products, it's just you have to be one or the other.
Yeah, and I'm creating the story as I go, and I don't know if this business exists
no,
at all.
That's okay.
But let's say the sombreros, I was thinking one of the things you could do is, let's say they're sombreros, they're handcrafted, and this person are great fans of college football, and they've decided to make different university branded sombreros so people can wear them, and I'm thinking this would be a great product, and someone can make
all
this.
Of a sudden,
we got a whole business. But they're branding them, and then they're pinning them on Pinterest. But also, then those things are going to be pinned on people that are pinning things about the Auburn Tigers. I also wonder this. We're making you choose either Pinterest or Instagram. But I think kind of what happens is, if you're on Instagram, that's almost a gateway drug to Pinterest. Because Pinterest takes more time, but the images on Instagram can then transfer over.
Yep.
Because if you're taking great photography, it starts on Instagram, and then you can go to Pinterest. Pinterest takes more time, more energy, and to get it, but it has more upside off the end. After we've made our sombreros, let's end up our week here with our infographic of the week, which is kind of a combination 10 infographics of the week. And
they're really more like slideshows of the week.
Okay, yes, they are. Sometimes when an infographic doesn't absolutely grab you and there's nothing new out there and we couldn't say, yes, this is the infographic of the week, we find the SlideShare of the week, which maybe it'll become a thing. Who knows?
You know what? I actually really like SlideShare. If you're not really using SlideShare, it's like one of the best places to go to do research on whatever you're searching for in business.
Yeah.
Totally recommend it.
So there are 10 of them here. First of all, Next Web, great job, gave us 10 slide shares that are every person who's doing anything about social media should go and look at.
Yep.
And so let's each choose one.
Okay.
And then our audience can go out there and find out, hey, what's their favorite one?
Absolutely.
So what do you got?
I'm starting with the first one. It's a complete guide.
It's number one. Yeah, you got to get to number one, the first one.
It's also really useful. It's a complete guide to the best times to post on social media and more. And that's a question that I get all the time. When should I post and why? And should I post in the morning? And if I'm on Twitter or if I'm on Instagram, like when should I post?
Yep.
Awesome SlideShare here. Go ahead and click through it. I'm not going to click through the SlideShare and just tell you stuff. In general, Facebook's in the evening. Twitter is all the time, constantly. And then you have to figure out the rest of them. But again, no one size fits all. So check this out, but take it with a grain of salt.
Yep. All right, and I'm going to choose how to create the perfect social media post.
Wow.
The sixth one there. And this was by a group from Canva about taking the perfect social media post and how to build that. And it's 31 slides, and they literally just go through step by step how to be bold, how to create images, what you should do with your headline, how to credit sources. And of course, they're telling that you should use Canva, and that's a great resource to use. But they do a great job giving examples in 31 slides. And yeah, it's just a great way to start thinking through how do I build those perfect posts. Because that's a struggle. We say, yes, I'm going to use Facebook, but I need someone to give me some tips. How do I start building this post in Facebook? And then how do I build that Twitter post? And how do I build that pin board?
To make it look as natural as it should be in its native environment.
And this is a great way to do that. All this has been driven at trying to help you with social media. We believe that behind those lenses, there are people out there that are trying to figure out how to use social media in their small business, how to get their voice out there, how to tell their story, and they're struggling, and we want to help you. And so the best way we know how to help you is answer your questions directly.
Yes.
How do you do that? You get in contact with us.
Yep.
How do you do that?
On Twitter, at Dustin Hickle, on Google+, Dustin Hickle, we can circle up there.
You can find me at Twitter, NK Manahan, and you can find Salcha everywhere. But let me throw out that you should be following Salcha on Twitter. You should be engaging with Salcha on LinkedIn. We're really working on that. And you should make sure that you're on Google+. Those are the places we're focusing on right now. But you can find us on Facebook. You can contact us anyway, and we'd love for you to share content. And if you found this video at all helpful, go up here. One, you can click subscribe so you can see all the YouTube videos. But you can also share this. And if you're a Salcha member, that's great. Welcome aboard. We're glad you're watching this. If you're not a Salcha member, learn what Salcha is. Go to salcha.com.
Absolutely.
So thanks for joining us. Thanks for hanging out all the way to the end. Thanks to JT for editing this and making us look a little smarter than we actually are. And we hope that you'll ask us some questions, interact with us, because we'd love to answer them next week on Informe, a social media conversation. Thanks for watching.